Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's Consumer Studies revision lesson. My name is Lillian Dube, and this lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Today, grade 12's our knowledge area, we are revising for the final exams, and our topic is on clothing. And our subtopic is a revision on fashion and appearance in the world of work. Right, we go on to the objectives for today's lesson. We want to revise questions from past exam papers on clothing in preparation for the exams. Right, refer to DBE 2021 examination guidelines. Right, grade 12, we have already covered the topic clothing. Right, so we'll go on to our questions, that is our multiple choice questions that we should expect in section A of our paper. So there's an instruction there for number 1 which says various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the correct answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question numbers. Let's go on to question 1.1 says, Martha's work clothes always look good and last long because she buys A, expensive contemporary items, B, good quality classic items, C, high fashion items, and D, a variety of fashion colors. Right, let's answer question 1.1, then we can move on to question 1.2. Right, we move on to 1.2 says identify the factor that contributes to sustainable fashion. A, fast fashion, B, recycling clothes, C, seasonal trends, and D, designer labels. Let's answer question 1.2, then we can move on. We move on to the next one, which is 1.3, says an economic factor that speeds up fashion change is A, fashion styles change rapidly, B, development of new expensive textile fibers, C, young people are fashion followers, and D, clothing stores offer credit facilities. Right, let's answer 1.3, then we can move on. Right, then 1.4 says identify the line in clothing that creates the illusion of height. A, we've got horizontal line, B, vertical line, C, diagonal line, and D, curved line. Right, let's answer 1.4. We move on to the next one, which is 1.5. 1.5 is the last one, and then we'll move on to the solutions. It says A or N dash code is included in a work contract specifying what a worker is supposed to wear to work. A, dress, B, employment, C, clothing, and D, fashion. Right? Let's answer 1.5, then we can move on to the solutions. Right, we should be done with 1.5. Let's go back to 1.1 and look at the answer. It says Martha's clothes always look good and last long because she buys good quality classic items. So our answer is B there for 1.1. Right, and then we move on to 1.2 says identify the factor that contributes to sustainable fashion. Right, our answer there is recycling of clothes. So it's B. We go on to question 1.3 says an economic factor that speeds up fashion change is that clothing stores offer credit facilities. Our answer is D there. Let's move on to question 1.4 says identify the line in clothing that creates the illusion of height. Right, so vertical lines create an illusion of height. And then our question 1.5 says A or N dash code is included in a work contract specifying what a worker is supposed to wear to work. Our answer then for 1.5 is supposed to be A, which is dress code. So the answer is A, which is dress code. Right, so that's those are our multiple choice questions that we should expect in section A of our paper. Right, let's move on to our next question. Question 1.2 says, from the list below, identify 4 optical illusions evident in the dress below. So it's not above, it's supposed to be in the dress below, right? So I'm sure you can see, learners, there is the dress, and then next to the dress there is the information about the dress. It says the dress is white from the shoulders to just below the bust line with white 3/4 sleeves. And then from the bust line, the dress is black with 3 white buttons and a white vertical pleat in the center front. Right, let's take a few minutes and take a look at the dress, and then there is some information on the optical illusions that we have to choose from. Right, we move on to the information. So from the list below, we're supposed to identify 4 optical illusions evident in the dress. Right, we've got A, which says the 3/4 sleeves make the arms appear longer. B says the flare of the skirt makes the hips appear broader or wider. And C says the white upper part makes the bust appear broader or larger. And then E says the length of the skirt makes the legs appear shorter. And then F says the vertical white pleat and buttons make the wearer appear shorter from the bust to the knees. G says the black color below the bust makes the waist appear thinner or smaller. And the last one, which is H, says the black color makes the waist appear larger. Right, so let's identify 4 optical illusions from the dress, and then we can move on to the solutions. Right, we should be done. Let's move on to the answers. So 4 optical illusions, we've got B, which says the flare of the skirt makes the hips appear broader or wider. That's one answer. And then the other one is C, which says the white upper part makes the bust appear broader or larger. Right, and the next one is E, which says the length of the skirt makes the legs appear shorter. And the last one is G, which says the black color below the bust makes the waist appear thinner or smaller. So those are the 4 optical illusions that we saw in the dress. Right, let's move on to our next question. Is question 1.3 says, explain the term fashion fad. And 1.4 says, give 3 guidelines to consider when buying shoes for the world of work. And 1.5 says, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. I am going to read the scenario to you. It says, wearing face masks became a compulsory fashion accessory in public due to the coronavirus pandemic. And then 1.5.1 says, name 2 stages in the fashion cycle that face masks have been through since 2020. And then 1.5.2 says, explain each of the stages in question 1.5.1. Right, I'm giving you a few minutes to answer question 1.3 up to 1.5.2. Then we can move on to the solutions. We should be done. Let's move on to the answers or the solutions. So 1.3 says, explain the term fashion fad. So this is a style that catches on amongst a large group of people with great enthusiasm, and then it also disappears very quickly. So that's a fashion fad. It comes in very fast and a large group of people want to wait, and then it also disappears as quickly as it appeared. Right, let's move on to 1.4 says, give 3 guidelines to consider when buying shoes for the world of work. Right, so firstly, we must buy good quality, long-lasting shoes like leather or suede. And then you must also choose the classic style shoes with clean, simple lines. And also choose comfortable, well-fitting shoes. That is, if you are going to work, it means you spend almost the whole day, and the shoes should be comfortable and well-fitting. And then buy shoes that match with garments in your wardrobe, or neutral colors are more versatile. Apparently, I'll go through the statement again. It says, buy shoes that match with garments in your wardrobe. Neutral colors are more versatile. Right? And then the other one says, shoes should be the same color, darker than trousers or the hemline of skirts, dresses, and should blend with the color of the belt. Right, so that is factors to consider when buying shoes for the world of work. And the last one is, they should be suitable for the working environment or the type of work. So people do different types of work. For example, people who are working somewhere out there on the road are not expected to wear stilettos or nice shoes, but they're supposed to wear safety shoes. So depending on your working environment, then you should buy suitable shoes. Right, let's move on to question 1.5. We're supposed to read the scenario I read the scenario to you about wearing face mask becoming a compulsory fashion accessory in public due to the coronavirus pandemic, right? And the question says, name 2 stages in the fashion cycle that face masks have been through since 2020. So in this case, we have mentioned all the stages, right? There was the beginning, of which we call the launch or the introduction. That's the first stage. And then we've got the rise, we've got the peak, we've got the decline, and the last one is obsolete. So these are the stages in the fashion cycle. Right, let's move on to the next question. Says, explain each of the stages in question 1.5.1 above. So firstly, we'll explain the stage, which is the first stage, the beginning, the launch, or the introduction. So this is when face masks were introduced and fewer people, celebrities, leaders, ministers, and even the president started wearing the face mask. So that was the introduction or the beginning of the face mask. And during that time, they were very expensive and limited stock was available at that time. Right, and then the next one is the rise. That's our next stage. This is when face masks gained popularity or they became a necessity. That is the rise, when more and more people started recognizing or buying the face mask. And so more and more people accepted wearing the face mask, and then masks became more available to consumers. And then the next one was the peak stage, right? So face masks were introduced in growing numbers and they were mass produced, right? And also face masks reached the height in popularity. All people wore them as they became compulsory or mandatory. And face masks were available everywhere in shops and as well as from street vendors. So that was the peak stage. And also the price decreased, they became cheaper and more affordable. Right, and then the next stage is the decline. Interest in the trend is waning, that is, it gets lower and lower. People are no longer interested. Shops are now marking down the masks and selling it on sale. So the masks became on sale and masks are slowly disappearing from the shop. So that is the decline stage. And then the last one is the obsolete. This is when the masks are now out of fashion. If shops still have stock, they will mark it down significantly. It means the price will go even lower. And this is when the fashion cycle is completed. Most shops no longer have the masks. Right, that's the masks. And then we go on to question 1.6. Says, study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. Right, on my left, there is the blazer there. And then on my right, there is the information about the blazer. It's a navy blazer with one pocket on each side at the bottom. There is also one handkerchief pocket on the upper left part of the blazer. And there is one button in the middle or the front. So the question says, discuss the versatility of the blazer as a clothing item to wear at work. And 1.6.2 says, discuss how the reusing of clothing items contributes to a sustainable environment. Right, let's answer 1.6.1 and 1.6.2, then we can move on to the solutions. Right, we should be done answering the questions. Let's go on to the solutions. Firstly, we'll answer 1.6.1 says, discuss the versatility of the blazer as a clothing item to wear at work. So this blazer can be mixed and matched with different color skirts, or you can use it with pants or shirts, also dresses or ties. Right? And this blazer can be worn in all seasons, whether it's winter or it's summer or it's spring, it can be worn during those seasons, right? Also, it can be worn with casual or formal pants, skirts, dresses, shirts, and blouses. Right? And the simplicity of the blazer makes it suitable to be worn professionally or casually. So professionally, you can put a shirt in it, or casually, you can just put a t-shirt inside. Right? And it is a classic item that could be worn for many years with different fashions. And then our next question, 1.6.2 says, discuss how the reusing of clothing items contributes to a sustainable environment. Right? Our answer says, reusing clothes means new clothing, fabrics or textiles do not have to be produced, as few newer garments will be made, right? And this ensures that less natural resources need to be used. Again, there is less harm to the environment, as fewer discarded textiles, or discarding means the throwing away of the textiles, end up in landfills, and this reduces the carbon footprint. So meaning we cannot throw away textiles. What do? We reuse them. And then less chemicals, dyes, bleaches are used, as less clothes will be manufactured. And this will decrease soil pollution as well as water pollution. So the chemicals, the dyes, and the bleaches that are used on growing the cotton fibers will be less. They are the ones that pollute the soil and the water. Right? Also, less water and electricity are used, as the manufacturing of new clothes is reduced. Right? And less transport needed to transport new clothes, which will reduce air pollution from the transportation. Right? That's 1.6.2. Let's move on to question 1.7 says, define retrospective fashion. And 1.8 says, many products bear the logo below. Right? In 1.8.1, so the logo is fair trade. As you can see, this is the logo for fair trade. And the question says, state the requirements that a company should meet to be able to use the fair trade logo on its products. And 1.8.2 says, explain the relationship between fashion, and style. Right? Let's answer question 1.7 up to 1.8.2. Then we can move on to the solutions. Right, let's move on to question 1.7. Let's go on to the next question. Right, 1.7 says define retrospective fashion. Right, so fashion that imitates the style of a previous era, and designers look to the past or history for inspiration, but always represent it with a modern twist. So that's retrospective fashion. Fashion designers look into the past to design something that can fit in the present times. And then we've got number 1.18.1 says state the requirements that a company should meet to be able to use the fair trade logo on its product. So companies should do what? Should pay fair wages to their workers. They should also provide good working conditions. They must also pay fair or decent working hours. They must give their workers fair, decent working hours. Also, they must not use child labor, or they do not employ children. Right. Also, they should comply with labor and safety laws. And they must also support environmental sustainability. So that those are the requirements that a company should meet to use or to be able to use the fair trade logo on their products. Right, let's move on to the next question. 1.8.2 says explain the relationship between fashion and style. Right? Fashion is based on a specific style, and a style refers to the outside characteristics of a clothing item. And fashion is a style accepted by a majority of people, and fashion is the style of clothing that the majority of people in a country, age group, or area wear now or at that particular time. And then a style becomes a fashion when the majority of people accept the style. And a style only remains in fashion for as long as the majority of people still accept it. As well, as a style is very seldom accepted by everyone, but fashion is accepted by the majority. So that is the relationship between fashion and style. Remember, fashion is based on style. Right, let's move on to the next question. 1.9 says, study the jacket below and answer the questions that follow. And then 1.9.1 says, discuss how social factors influence the use of African prints in South African fashion. So this is a jacket with African prints on it. So let's answer 1.1, 1.9.1, then we can move on to the solutions. We should be done. Let's move on to the solutions of our question 1.9.1. It says, discuss how social factors influence the use of African prints in South African fashion. So people tend to copy celebrities, role models. That way, African prints will increase the use of African prints in fashion. So most of the fashion that we see it from role models as well as celebrities. So also social media and cultural events have provided inspiration for fashion designers to use African prints. And traveling and socializing with people from all over South Africa or other African countries has also led to the increase in the use of the African print in fashion. Right, that's 1.9. Then we move on to the next question, which is 1.10, says, study the outfit below and answer the questions that follow. So on my left, there is an outfit there. It shows the top part of the outfit and the bottom part. So let's read the information about the outfit. It says this outfit consists of a red double-breasted jacket, black pants, and a black leather handbag. Our 1.10.1 question says, explain why this outfit is suitable for the world of work as well as a cocktail party after work. And point 2 says, analyze the optical illusion created by the outfit. Let's answer question 1.10.1 and 1.10.2. Then we'll move on to the solutions. We should be done with answering. Let's move on to the solutions. 1.10.1 says, explain why this outfit is suitable for the world of work as well as a cocktail party after work. Right, and then the solutions. The outfit is versatile, meaning it can be worn during the day and the night. So during the day at work and during the night for the cocktail party. Also, this outfit has a formal appearance. Right, it is also elegant, stylish, and smart. Also, it has a professional appearance. Right, and then we move on to 1.10.1 says, explain why this outfit is suitable for the world of work. So this is a continuation of question 1.10.1. It says the jacket can be mixed and matched with other colors, skirts, blouses, or dresses. And the red and black colors are both suitable for both work and the cocktail function. And the pants can be mixed and matched with other colors, jackets or skirts. Remember, the pants are black in color, so black can match with any other color. Right, and then the outfit is not too revealing or tight. That is, it is suitable for work. Right, and then the black leather handbag is both suitable for the world of work and a cocktail party. Right, so that's why this outfit is suitable for work as well as a cocktail party after work. Right, let's move on to the next question. 10.2 says, analyze the optical illusion created by the outfit. So, firstly, the waistline of the wearer will appear narrower because of the figure hugging jacket. And also the cut of the jacket will camouflage a broad, wide waistline because of the flared jacket, right? So to camouflage is to hide. So it will hide a broad waistline because of the flared jacket. And also the upper body will appear slimmer because the jacket is a close-fitting style. And then we move on with the optical illusions created by the outfit. The V shape on the neckline will create the illusion of a longer neck because it draws the eye down the diagonal line of the right lapel. And also the hemline of the jacket will make the hips appear broader, wider because of the flared style over the hip line, right? And also the black color of the pants have a slimming effect. The red jacket makes the upper body appear larger, right? And then the last one says the pants will make the legs appear longer due to the vertical line and the narrow style of the pants. Right, those are the optical illusions created by the outfit. Right, we move on to the summary for today's lesson. We said fashion is the style accepted by a specific group of people at a given time and place. And also style is the specific characteristic that make one product or item different from another. We also said classic styles are timeless and are always considered tasteful. Also, fashion trends are the directions in which fashion moves. And dressing appropriately for a corporate meeting portrays a good image for the company. Right, grade 12, we have come to the end of today's lesson. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.